6.1 Origin of Life. Summary and explanation. 1. Universe and Earth. When we look at stars, we are actually looking into the past, since light from distant stars takes millions of years to reach us. Earth is very small compared to the vast universe, which is around 20 billion years old. The Big Bang Theory explains the origin of the universe through a massive explosion that led to expansion and cooling. After the Big Bang, hydrogen and helium were formed. Galaxies and stars formed due to gravitational condensation. Earth was formed around 4.5 billion years ago. 2. Early Earth. Early Earth had no atmosphere. Volcanic activity released water vapor, methane, CH4, carbon dioxide, CO2, and ammonia, NH3. UV rays from the sun broke water into hydrogen and oxygen. Hydrogen escaped into space. Oxygen reacted to form water and CO2. Ozone layer was formed. Rains filled depressions to form oceans. Life began 4 billion years ago, i.e., 500 million years after Earth formed. 3. Theories on origin of life. Panspermia theory. Life came from outer space via spores or seeds. Supported by some astronomers. Still speculative. B. Spontaneous generation, disproved. Belief. Life came from rotting matter like straw/mud. Louis Pasteur disproved this. Life can only come from pre-existing life using a sterile flask experiment. C. Chemical evolution, widely accepted. Oparin, Russia, and Haldane, England. Life came from non-living organic molecules like RNA, proteins. Early Earth had a reducing atmosphere, rich in CH4, NH3, H2. In 1953, Stanley Miller recreated early Earth conditions. Used gases CH4, NH3, H2, water vapor, and electric sparks. Result: formation of amino acids, basic building blocks of life. Later experiments. Sugars, pigments, fats also formed. Even meteorites showed similar organic molecules, supporting the idea. 4. Formation of first life forms. Around 3 billion years ago, non-cellular life, like RNA proteins, may have formed, capable of replication. First cellular life evolved around 2 billion years ago, possibly in the water. This idea of life coming from non-living matter through gradual evolution is called abiogenesis. The origin of life is believed to have happened through a step-by-step process. From inorganic compounds, organic molecules, non-cellular life, cellular organisms. From here, evolution took over to create the diversity of life we see today. 6.2 Evolution of life forms. A theory. 1. Theory of special creation, religious belief, now outdated. All life forms were created as they are. Diversity has not changed since creation. Earth is only 4,000 years old. This theory was challenged in the 19th century by scientific observations. 2. Charles Darwin's theory of natural selection. Observed during his HMS Beagle voyage. Found similarities among present and extinct species, suggesting gradual change over time. Some species became extinct, new ones emerged. All life has variations. Some traits help survival better in nature. These traits help reproductive success, leading to survival of the fittest. Called this mechanism natural selection. Driving force of evolution. 3. Evolution over time. Life forms share common ancestry. Earth and its life forms evolved gradually over billions of years, not just thousands. 6.3 Evidences for evolution. A. Paleontological evidence. Fossils. Fossils found in sedimentary rocks show ancient life. Deeper fossils equals older organisms. Fossils reveal extinct species and show how life forms changed with time. Example: dinosaurs. B. Embryological evidence. Proposed by Ernst Haeckel. All vertebrate embryos show similar structures, e.g. gill slits. Disproved by Carl von Baer. Embryos don't pass through adult stages of other animals. Still, early embryo stages can hint at common ancestry. C. Comparative anatomy and morphology. Homologous structures, same structure, different function. Divergent evolution. Show common ancestry. Example. Forelimbs of humans, bats, whales, cheetahs. Same bones but different uses. Bougainvillea thorn and Cucurbita tendril, plants. Small orange diamond analogous structures. Different structure, same function, convergent evolution. Show adaptation to similar environments, not common ancestry. Example. Wings of birds and butterflies. Eye of octopus and mammals. Flippers of dolphin and penguin. Sweet potato, root, and potato stem. D. Biochemical evidence. Similar proteins and genes, e.g. DNA, enzymes, in different organisms equals common ancestry. Supports molecular evolution. E. Artificial selection by humans. Humans have bred plants and animals for desired traits, e.g., dogs, crops. If humans can create new varieties in hundreds of years, nature can do it over millions of years. F. Industrial melanism. Natural selection in action. In England, 1850s, pre-industrial more white-winged moths. 1920s, post-industrial more dark-winged moths, soot-darkened tree bark. Camouflage gave survival advantage. White moths were safe on clean trees. Black moths survived better on soot-covered trees. Lichens, bioindicators of air quality, were affected by pollution. Where no pollution equals white moths still dominate. G. Evolution by human impact, anthropogenic evolution. Overuse of pesticides, resistant insects, antibiotics, superbugs. Evolution happens in shorter timescales, months/years, proving evolution is ongoing. Final thought. Evolution is not planned or directed. It is a stochastic, random, process driven by natural selection, genetic mutations, environmental changes, chance events. 6.4 What is adaptive radiation? A deep dive for students. Magnifying glass tilted left, understanding the term adaptive radiation. Let's break it down. Adaptive means to adjust or modify in response to the environment. Radiation here doesn't mean harmful rays or nuclear energy. It means spreading out in different directions from a single point. So, adaptive radiation is the evolutionary process where a single ancestral species evolves into many different species, each adapted to a different habitat, food source, or ecological role. Think of it like one ancestor giving rise to many cousins, each moving to a different room in the house and changing their lifestyle based on what that room offers. The classic example, where Darwin visited the Galapagos Islands, a group of isolated volcanic islands in the Pacific Ocean, during his famous voyage on the HMS Beagle. What did he see? He saw small black birds that looked very similar to each other but had different kinds of beaks. They later became famous as Darwin's finches. Brain. What did Darwin conclude? All these finches descended from a common ancestor, probably a basic seed-eating bird. Over generations, as these birds spread to different islands and habitats, some began eating insects, evolved sharp, pointed beaks. Some ate fruits or leaves, developed broader beaks. Others stayed seed-eaters, kept short, strong beaks. Key idea: they adapted to different diets and radiated out into many species. Hence, adaptive radiation. Another great example: Australian marsupials. Where? In Australia, a continent that's long been isolated from the rest of the world. What happened? A single ancestral marsupial gave rise to many different species of marsupials, each adapted to a different environment or role. Kangaroo, grassland grazer. Koala, tree-dwelling leaf-eater. Wombat, burrowing herbivore. Tasmanian devil, scavenger. Marsupial mole, insect-digging underground dweller. All evolved from one ancestor, But each took a different evolutionary path, becoming specialized for survival in different niches of the same island continent. Convergent evolution. Placental versus marsupial mammals. This is where things get more interesting and complex. In Australia, nature performed a kind of parallel experiment. While marsupials were evolving into different forms on their own. Placental mammals, like us humans, dogs, cats, etc., in other parts of the world evolved into very similar-looking creatures, even though they weren't related to the marsupials. Examples. Ecological role: marsupial species placental counterpart. Predator: Tasmanian wolf placental wolf. Burrower: marsupial mole placental mole. Glider: sugar glider flying squirrel. Even though these animals look and behave similarly, they evolved independently. This is called convergent evolution. Why it happens? Similar environments put similar pressures on life forms, and similar problems often lead to similar solutions, even in unrelated species. (6.5) Biological evolution. Explained. Biological evolution refers to how living organisms have changed over time due to natural processes. According to Darwin, the core idea behind evolution is natural selection, a process where nature selects organisms that are better suited to survive in a particular environment. Seedling: where did it begin? Evolution began when the first living cells with different metabolic abilities appeared on Earth. These early cells could perform basic life functions like using nutrients and reproducing. As they multiplied, variations naturally appeared in their population. Fast reproduction, fast evolution. In organisms like bacteria, reproduction happens quickly, sometimes in just hours. Because of this, any variation, like the ability to use a new food source, spreads rapidly. Example. Imagine bacteria colony growing in a lab. Some bacteria naturally vary in their ability to digest a new nutrient. If the nutrient changes, only those variant bacteria, colony B, survive. Within days, B becomes dominant, almost like a new species. Why? Because B is more fit under the new conditions. This is natural selection in action. Nature selects the ones best suited to the new environment. Let's see this experiment for more clarity. Title: Bacteria Experiment Showing Natural Selection. Objective: to observe how a population of bacteria evolves when exposed to a new nutrient source, demonstrating natural selection and adaptation. Experimental setup. Start with colony A. A single bacterial species, colony A, is grown in a controlled lab environment. These bacteria live in a nutrient-rich medium where they reproduce rapidly. Introduce genetic variation. Natural genetic variations exist among the bacteria. Some have random mutations that allow them to digest a new nutrient that others cannot. These variations are not manually induced. They are naturally occurring mutations within the bacterial population. Change the environment. Scientists changed the nutrient composition of the medium. Now, only the new nutrient is available as a food source. Most of colony A cannot survive because they cannot metabolize this nutrient. Selection of variants, colony B. The few bacteria with the favorable mutation, colony B, survive and begin to reproduce rapidly. Within a few days, colony B becomes the dominant population. Results: the new population, B, is genetically different and better adapted to the new environment. Colony B now behaves almost like a new species compared to the original colony. Conclusion: this experiment demonstrates natural selection. Variation exists in a population. Environmental change creates new conditions. Only the best adapted individuals survive and reproduce. Over time, the population evolves. Educational importance. This simple bacterial experiment is a powerful model to understand. Darwin's theory of natural selection. Evolution in real time. How fitness is relative to the environment. The role of genetic variation in survival. What about larger organisms? For animals like fish, birds, or humans, Evolution takes millions of years because their life cycles are much longer. But the principle is the same. Variations happen in every generation. Some individuals have traits that help them survive better. These traits are inherited, passed from parents to offspring. Over time, new species emerge. Fitness in evolution. Fitness doesn't mean physical strength. It means how well an organism can survive and reproduce in its environment. Organisms that are more fit leave behind more offspring. Fitness is based on inherited traits. These traits must have a genetic basis. They are coded in the DNA. Darwin's two main concepts: branching descent. Over generations, organisms split into different species from a common ancestor. Natural selection. Only the organisms best suited to an environment survive and reproduce. Giraffe. Lamarck versus Darwin. Before Darwin, Jean-Baptiste Lamarck proposed a different theory. He said organisms change because of use or disuse of organs. Example: giraffes stretched their necks to reach tall trees. Over time, their necks became longer, and this trait was passed on. Today, this idea is rejected because we now know traits acquired during life can't be inherited. Only genetic traits are passed to the next generation. Is evolution a process or a result? Evolution is both. A process. It is ongoing, driven by natural selection and genetic variation. A result. All life forms we see today are the outcomes of evolution. Chart increasing Malthus' influence on Darwin. Darwin was influenced by Thomas Malthus, who observed, resources are limited, food, space, etc. Populations tend to grow rapidly. This leads to competition. Only those with favorable inherited traits survive and reproduce. So, over generations, these helpful traits become common. The population evolves. Summary. Evolution is driven by natural selection and genetic variation. Fast reproducing organisms evolve quickly. Others take longer. Fitness means inherited traits that improve survival chances. Darwin's theory is supported by science today. Evolution explains the diversity of life on Earth. Here is a detailed and deep explanation of the evolutionary ideas and contributions of Malthus, Lamarck, and Darwin, including context, evidence, methodology, and long-term impact. 1. Thomas Robert Malthus, 1766 to 1834. Work. An Essay on the Principle of Population, 1798. Core concept. Malthus was an English economist and demographer who proposed that population growth would always outpace food supply, leading to competition, famine, and struggle. Main points. Population grows exponentially, 2, 4, 8, 16. Resources grow arithmetically, 2, 4, 6, 8. Eventually, a crisis point is reached where population resources. Checks on population include famine, disease, and war, natural checks. Implications in nature. Malthus wasn't writing about evolution, but his idea that more individuals are born than can survive deeply influenced Charles Darwin. Darwin applied this to all species. Struggle for existence is a constant in nature, and only the fittest survive, a key foundation of natural selection. Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, 1744 to 1829. Work. Philosophie zoologique, 1809. Lamarck's theory of evolution. Lamarck was one of the first scientists to propose a coherent mechanism for evolution and believe that species could change over time. Key principles: Lamarckism. Use and disuse. Organs that are used frequently grow stronger/larger. Organs not used shrink or disappear over generations. Giraffe example. Giraffes stretched necks to reach high leaves, over generations, longer necks. Inheritance of acquired characteristics. Traits acquired during a lifetime are passed to offspring. Example. A blacksmith's muscular arms are passed to his son. Tendency towards perfection. Lamarck believed life has an inherent tendency to become more complex and perfect over time. Criticism and modern perspective. Lamarck's ideas were rejected after the discovery of genes and DNA. Acquired traits, like muscles from training, are not inherited genetically. However, Lamarck was pioneering because he introduced the idea of gradual change. He emphasized the environment's influence on organisms. Modern epigenetics shows some environmental effects can influence gene expression in offspring, a weak echo of Lamarckian ideas. Charles Robert Darwin, 1809 to 1882. Work on the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection, 1859. Darwin's Journey and Evidence. Voyage on HMS Beagle, 1831 to 1836. Visited the Galapagos Islands, South America, and other regions. Observed finches with different beak shapes suited to different diets. This showed adaptation to environment. Collected fossil records, geology samples, and living species. Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection. Variation exists within species. No two individuals are exactly alike. More offspring are produced than can survive. Competition for limited resources is inevitable, inspired by Malthus. Survival of the fittest. Individuals with advantageous traits are more likely to survive and reproduce. These traits are inherited by the next generation. Speciation over time. Over many generations, accumulation of favorable traits leads to new species. Modern understanding, post-Darwin. Darwin didn't know how traits were inherited. Mendel's work came later. Later synthesis with Mendelian genetics in the 20th century formed the modern evolutionary synthesis, unifying genetics with natural selection. Darwin's legacy. His theory revolutionized biology and gave a unifying explanation for the diversity of life. Modern fields like evolutionary biology, genetics, paleontology, and molecular biology are built on Darwinian foundations. Comparative summary. Scientists' core idea mechanism evidence used influence on evolution. Malthus population exceeds resources struggle for survival demographic trends. Math logic inspired Darwin's natural selection. Lamarck inheritance of acquired traits use and disuse. Adaptation morphological comparisons early evolutionary theory. Darwin natural selection drives evolution heritable variation plus survival advantage observations from Global Voyage Foundation of Modern Evolutionary Biology. 6.6 Mechanism of evolution. Explained. We already know that evolution happens due to natural selection and that organisms with better traits, called variations, survive and reproduce. But where do these variations come from? And how do they lead to the creation of new species, speciation? Let's explore this step by step. Origin of variation. Variation means differences in traits among individuals of the same species. These differences can be small or large, and they are usually passed on from parents to offspring. Charles Darwin believed in small, gradual variations over a long period of time. But he did not explain where exactly these variations came from. At that time, Gregor Mendel had already discovered heritable factors, genes, but Darwin did not use Mendel's findings, maybe because they were not widely known or accepted yet. Mutation theory. Hugo de Vries. In the early 1900s, a scientist named Hugo de Vries studied a plant called evening primrose and made an important discovery. He found that sometimes sudden large changes, called mutations, appear in organisms. These mutations can lead to new traits or even new species. He proposed that mutations, not small gradual variations, are the main driving force of evolution. This theory is known as the mutation theory. Darwin versus de Vries. Aspect Darwin-Hugo de Vries. Type of variation small, gradual, continuous large, sudden, random mutations. Direction directional, leads to improvement. Random and directionless. Speed slow and over generations can happen in a single step. Speciation gradual over time sudden through saltation. What is saltation? Saltation means a sudden large mutation that causes the formation of a new species in one step. This idea was opposite to Darwin's concept of slow and gradual change. Modern understanding. Population genetics. Later, with the development of population genetics, scientists understood that both mutations and natural selection play a role in evolution. Mutations provide the raw material, new traits. Natural selection filters these traits, keeping the useful ones. So today's understanding combines mutations as the source of variation, and natural selection as the process that favors useful traits. This combined approach is called the modern synthetic theory of evolution. In summary, variations are essential for evolution. Darwin believed in small, gradual changes over time. Hugo de Vries introduced mutation as a cause of sudden changes. Mutation is random and directionless. Darwinian variation is small and directional. Population genetics helped clarify that both mutation and natural selection together drive evolution. 6.7 Hardy-Weinberg Principle. Explained in simple terms. The Hardy-Weinberg principle is a very important concept in population genetics. It explains how the frequencies of genes, alleles, in a population remain constant from one generation to the next if certain conditions are met. This state of constant gene frequencies is known as genetic equilibrium. What does the principle say? In any large, randomly mating population, the frequency of alleles, versions of a gene, will not change across generations unless some evolutionary force acts on it. In simple words, if there is no evolution, the gene pool of a population stays unchanged over time. Hardy-Weinberg equation. In a gene with two alleles, let's say, P equals frequency of allele A, Q equals frequency of allele A. Since there are only two alleles, P plus Q equals 1, i.e. the total allele frequency is 100%. Frequency of genotype AA equals P superscript 2. Frequency of genotype AA equals 2pq. Frequency of genotype AA equals Q superscript 2. P superscript 2 plus 2pq plus Q superscript 2 equals 1. This equation shows the distribution of genotypes in the population. Example for better understanding. Suppose in a population, frequency of allele AP equals 0.6. Frequency of allele AQ equals 0.4. AA equals 0.6. Superscript 2 equals 0.36 36%. AA is equal to 2 times 0.6 times 0.4 equals 0.48 48%. AA equals 0.4. Superscript 2 equals 0.16 16%. So the population has 36% homozygous dominant AA, 48% heterozygous A, 16% homozygous recessive A. This pattern will remain stable generation after generation, but only if no evolutionary forces are acting. What can disturb the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium? The following 5 evolutionary forces can change allele frequencies and cause evolution. Gene migration, gene flow, movement of genes between populations. If individuals move into or out of a population, they bring new alleles or remove old ones. Genetic drift, random changes in allele frequency, happens more often in small populations. A small group might split off and form a new population. This is called the founder effect. Mutation, sudden random changes in genes, introduces new alleles into the gene pool. 4. Genetic recombination, happens during gamete formation, e.g., crossing over, leads to new combinations of genes. 5. Natural selection, individuals with better traits survive and reproduce more. Over time, this favors certain alleles and reduces others. What happens when the equilibrium is disturbed? If allele frequencies change, it means the population is evolving. These changes could eventually lead to new traits, new phenotypes, even new species. Types of natural selection effects. 1. Stabilizing selection. Definition. Stabilizing selection favors the average or intermediate traits in a population. It reduces genetic variation and helps maintain status quo by removing extreme traits. Example, human birth weight. Babies born too light have higher risk of health problems and death. Babies born too heavy may cause complications during childbirth. So, babies with average weight are more likely to survive and reproduce. Summary: removes extremes, narrows the range of traits, stabilizes the population around the mean value. 2. Directional selection. Definition: directional selection favors one extreme of a trait. Over time, the population shifts in that direction. Example: industrial melanism in moths. Before the Industrial Revolution in England, light-colored moths were common because they could camouflage on clean trees. After pollution darkened the trees, dark-colored moths survived better, less likely to be eaten by birds. Population shifted toward darker moths. Summary: selects one extreme trait, shifts trait distribution in one direction, often seen in changing environments. 3. Disruptive selection. Definition: disruptive selection favors both extremes of a trait and selects against the average. This can lead to two distinct groups forming in a population. Example: beak size in birds. In some bird species, small beaks are good for eating soft seeds, and large beaks are good for cracking hard seeds. Birds with medium-sized beaks cannot eat either type efficiently and are less likely to survive. Over time, birds with small or large beaks dominate, splitting the population. Summary: favors extremes, eliminates average. Can lead to speciation over time. Increases variation in the population. Quick comparison. Type of selection favors result. Example: stabilizing average traits reduces extremes, stabilizes traits human birth weight. Directional: one extreme trait shifts population in one direction. Dark moths in industrial England. Disruptive: both extremes splits population, increases variation. Bird beak size, small and large. Summary: the Hardy-Weinberg principle gives us a baseline to detect evolution. If allele frequencies remain constant, the population is not evolving. If frequencies change, we know evolutionary forces are at work. It helps us study how mutation, selection, drift, migration, and recombination affect populations. 6.8 A brief account of evolution. Explained. The story of life on Earth began billions of years ago and has undergone countless changes. Let's understand how simple life forms evolved into complex organisms like humans. 2,000 million years ago, Maya: first cellular life. The first living cells appeared on Earth around 2,000 million years ago. Before that, there were non-cellular structures, large molecules, which somehow developed into cells with membranes. The exact process of this transformation is still unknown. Photosynthetic cells released oxygen. Some early cells developed a way to split water using sunlight, similar to photosynthesis. This released oxygen O2 into the atmosphere. It marked the beginning of aerobic life. Single-celled to multi-celled organisms. Gradually, some single-celled organisms evolved into multicellular life forms. Around 500 Maya, invertebrates, animals without backbones, were formed and became active. Jawless fish and early plants. Around 350 Maya, jawless fish evolved. Seaweeds and early plants were present around 320 Maya. Plants invaded land first, and later animals followed them. Fish with strong fins moved to land. About 350 Maya, some fish with strong fins could move on land and return to water. These were the lobe fins. Fun fact: in 1938, a fish called coelacanth was discovered in South Africa. It was thought to be extinct. Amphibians evolved from lobe fins. Lobe fins evolved into the first amphibians, animals that lived both on land and in water. These are the ancestors of modern frogs and salamanders. Reptiles evolved from amphibians. Reptiles developed thick-shelled eggs, which allowed them to lay eggs on land without drying out. Their modern descendants include turtles, tortoises, and crocodiles. Age of reptiles, rise of dinosaurs. Over the next 200 million years, reptiles dominated Earth in many shapes and sizes. Giant ferns, called pteridophytes, were also common. Their remains formed coal deposits. Some reptiles evolved back into water and became fish-like reptiles, such as ichthyosaurs around 200 Maya. On land, dinosaurs became the most powerful animals. The largest, Tyrannosaurus rex, was about 20 feet tall and had dagger-like teeth. Dinosaur extinction. 65 Maya. Dinosaurs suddenly vanished around 65 million years ago. Possible reasons. Climate change. Some evolved into birds. The exact cause is still a mystery. First mammals. Small and smart. The first mammals were small shrew-like animals. Mammals give birth to young ones, viviparous, and protect the unborn inside their body. They were more intelligent and better at sensing danger than reptiles. Continental drift and mammals. In South America, mammals like horses, bears, hippos, and rabbits evolved. When South America connected with North America, North American animals replaced many of them. Australia had pouched mammals, marsupials, like kangaroos, which survived due to isolation and lack of competition. Water mammals. Some mammals returned to the sea. Examples: whales, dolphins, seals, cows. Special evolution stories. The evolution of horse, elephant, dog, etc. are considered special evolutionary stories. These are studied in higher classes. Most successful human evolution. The most successful species is humans. Key features: language, self-awareness, highly intelligent brains. 6.9 Origin and evolution of man. Explained. The journey of humans from ancient ape-like primates to modern Homo sapiens is a fascinating story backed by fossil evidence. 15 million years ago, Maya early primates. 2 early human ancestors lived. Dryopithecus, more ape-like. Ramapithecus, more man-like. They were hairy and walked like gorillas and chimpanzees. 3 to 4 million years ago, early man-like primates. Fossils found in Ethiopia and Tanzania show that man-like primates walked upright in eastern Africa. These creatures were short, about 4 feet, walked on 2 legs, showed signs of hominid features. 2 million years ago, Australopithecus lived in East African grasslands, used stone tools for hunting, mainly ate fruits, gave rise to a more advanced being, Homo habilis. Homo habilis. First human-like being. Brain size. 650 to 800 cubic centimeters. Called the first hominid. Used tools but probably did not eat meat. 1.5 million years ago. Homo erectus. Fossils discovered in Java, 1891. Brain size. 900 cc. Probably ate meat. Walked upright, more advanced than Homo habilis. Neanderthal man, 100,000 to 40,000 years ago. Lived in Central Asia and Near East. Brain size. 1400 cc, larger than earlier species. Features. Used animal hides for protection. Buried their dead. Shows emotional and cultural growth. Homo sapiens, modern humans. Originated in Africa. Migrated to other continents. Developed into different races. Ice Age. 75,000 to 10,000 years ago. Rise of modern humans. Modern Homo sapiens evolved during this period. Cave art started about 18,000 years ago. Example. Cave paintings found in Bhimbetka, Madhya Pradesh, show prehistoric art. 10,000 years ago. Agriculture and settlements. Humans learned farming. Started living in permanent settlements. From here began the human history of civilizations. Their growth, achievements, and decline. Key evolutionary timeline summary, Part 2. Time period species/event features. 100,000 to 40,000 years ago Neanderthal man brain. 1400 cc, used hides, buried dead. 75,000 to 10,000 years ago Homo sapiens. Modern. Emerged during Ice Age, spread globally. 18,000 years ago cave art Bhimbetka cave paintings in India. 10,000 years ago agriculture begins first permanent settlements. Key evolutionary timeline summary. Time Maya, species features. 15 Maya Dryopithecus and Ramapithecus hairy, gorilla/chimp-like. Ramapithecus more man-like. 3 to 4 Maya man-like primates walked upright, short stature, found in East Africa. 2 Maya Australopithecines used stone tools, lived in grasslands, ate fruits. 2 Maya Homo habilis brain. 650 to 800 cubic centimeters. First human-like species. 1.5 Maya Homo erectus brain. 900 cc, fossils found in Java, more advanced. Biological evolution. Darwinian selection and variance. Q1. Which of the following is the central concept of Darwinian theory of evolution? Genetic drift. B. Mutation. C. Natural selection. D. Artificial selection. Q2. In bacterial evolution experiments, which population survives when the environment changes? Original colony. B. All individuals equally. C. Variant population. D. Mutated virus. Q3. The rate of appearance of new forms is linked to A. Mutation rate. B. Number of offspring. C. Life cycle/lifespan. D. Genetic drift. Mechanism of evolution. De Vries, saltation genetics. Q4. Hugo de Vries suggested that evolution occurs due to A. Natural selection. B. Gradual variation. C. Mutation. D. Recombination. Q5. Saltation refers to slow evolutionary change. B. Gene flow. C. Large sudden mutations. D. Stabilizing selection. Q6. Darwin's theory differs from de Vries's in that Darwin emphasized mutation. B. Recombination. C. Gradual changes through small variations. D. Sudden changes. Q7. The Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium is disturbed by A. Natural selection. B. Mutation. C. Genetic drift. D. All of the above. Q8. In Hardy-Weinberg equation, what does P superscript 2 represent? Frequency of heterozygotes. B. Frequency of allele A. C. Frequency of AA genotype. D. Sum of alleles. Q9. Which of the following can result in speciation through chance rather than selection? Mutation. B. Founder effect. C. Natural selection. D. Recombination. Brief account of evolution timeline. Q10. The first multicellular organisms appeared approximately 1000 Maya. B. 2000 Maya. T. 500 Maya. P. 65 Maya. Q11. Which of the following organisms is considered a living fossil and was thought to be extinct until found in 1938? Tortoise. B. Ichthyosaur. C. Coelacanth. D. Pteranodon. Q12. Mammals became dominant after A. Evolution of fish. B. Extinction of dinosaurs. C. Formation of oceans. D. Evolution of birds. Origin and evolution of man. Q13. Ramapithecus is considered more ape-like. B. More man-like. C. Equal to Homo habilis. D. First bipedal hominid. Q14. The Neanderthal man lived approximately A. 1.5 million years ago. B. 10,000 years ago. C. 100,000 to 40,000 years ago. D. 5 million years ago. Q15. Homo habilis is known for A. A brain capacity greater than 1,400 cubic centimeters. B. Use of fire. C. Use of tools. D. Agriculture. Natural selection types. Q16. Stabilizing selection. Increases extremes. B. Favors average traits. C. Leads to speciation. D. Promotes mutation. Q17. Which type of selection leads to darker moths in industrial areas? Disruptive selection. B. Stabilizing selection. C. Directional selection. D. Artificial selection. Q18. Disruptive selection favors average traits, B. Traits at both extremes, C. Heterozygotes, D. Recessive traits. Scientists and their contributions. Q19. Who proposed the inheritance of acquired characters? Darwin, B. Malthus, C. Lamarck, E. Mendel. Q20. Darwin's theory of natural selection was influenced by Newton, B. Malthus, C. Aristotle, D. de Vries. Q21. Lamarck's theory has been disproven primarily because it had no fossil evidence. B. Acquired traits are not inheritable. C. It lacked examples. D. It did not consider environment. Darwinian variations are sudden and large. B. Gradual and directional. C. Random and disruptive. D. Unstable. Topic: Mechanism of evolution. 2. Bimbetka caves are known for fossils. B. Rock art. C. Tools. D. Skulls. Topic: Human evolution. 3. Which selection favors intermediate traits? A. Directional. B. Disruptive. C. Stabilizing. D. Random. Topic: Types of natural selection. For saltation refers to gene recombination. B. Gradual change. C. Large mutations. D. Genetic drift. Topic: Mechanism of evolution. 5. Which of the following evolved first? Mammals. B. Reptiles. C. Amphibians. D. Jawless fishes. Topic: Evolution timeline. 6. First true human species is called Homo habilis. B. Australopithecus. C. Homo sapiens. D. Ramapithecus. Topic: Human evolution. 7. Disturbance in Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium indicates stability. B. Random mating. C. Evolution. D. Recombination only. Topic: Hardy-Weinberg principle. 8. Dinosaurs went extinct approximately 350 Maya. B. 200 Maya. C. 65 Maya. D. 10,000 years ago. Topic: Evolution timeline. 9. Darwin's theory is based on mutations. B. Acquired traits. C. Struggle for existence. D. Gene flow. Topic: Scientist contributions. 10. Which mechanism is the primary cause of adaptation? Mutation. B. Gene flow. C. Natural selection. D. Genetic drift. Topic: Biological evolution. 11. Variants that are better adapted to the environment tend to die out. B. Migrate. C. Survive and reproduce. D. Mutate. Topic: Biological evolution. 12. Example of directional selection is bird beak variation. B. Industrial melanism. C. Average birth weight. D. Albino moths. Topic: Types of natural selection. 13. Founder effect is associated with A. Natural selection. B. Genetic drift. C. Mutation. D. Migration. Topic: Hardy-Weinberg principle. 14. Who proposed the theory of natural selection? Hugo de Vries. B. Lamarck. C. Darwin. D. Malthus. Topic: Biological evolution. 15. Homo erectus is characterized by stone tools. B. 900 cubic centimeters brain. C. Cave art. D. Agriculture. Topic: Human evolution.